Hello, I'm Billy Atwell. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for the Diocese of Arlington. I'm here with Bishop Burbidge today, and we're going to be talking about news and events both locally as well as globally as well. Bishop, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Billy, and welcome to the Diocese of Arlington. It's great to have you here.
It's been about 6 weeks now. It's gone quickly.
And you're still standing. And
I'm still
smiling,
standing.
and smiling.
I'm pulling it together. I wanted to talk with you about some recent things as well as other unique elements of this diocese. I mean, some of the growth that we've seen. We're going to talk about religious liberty and other issues, but starting on more recent news, obviously hurricanes Harvey and Irma are very big news. It's been, there's a lot of devastation. We're only starting to see some of the relief efforts in Texas, and then Florida is obviously kind of recovering. In fact, as of the time of this recording, there's still a lot of people without power even in Florida. When you first heard the news of the devastation in Texas and Florida, what were your thoughts?
And very much united with our brothers and sisters with all those territories impacted by the hurricane. Beautiful to see the response of so many people, including those in our diocese. So many ways to help, certainly through our collections in our parishes. Our parishes have held a collection to share financial resources. We can do so even on our Diocesan website. And we'll go directly to Catholic Charities USA. So very grateful to all our parishioners out there who are contributing financially so resources can be there to assist our brothers and sisters in need. Number of volunteers going down to the states where help is needed. I thought the governor of Florida said something beautiful, expressing great gratitude for this kind of response. He said, but don't forget what we need most now are our prayers. And so those prayers continue. Because as you mentioned, this recovery is going to be a long period of time for so many people. It
will, and Catholic Charities is already responding. They've been on the ground. One of the benefits of the Catholic Church is between parishes and Catholic Charities, we're already in these areas. We don't have to send people. There's already an effort there locally, but obviously we're showing an outpouring of support prayerfully, but also financially.
Right.
That's been a big need, and I know the online giving, which is something we haven't pushed as much in the past, has been incredibly responsive. We're seeing a lot of people come out. But I know we've heard from priests that the second collections are doing very, very well.
Yes.
So I know that's encouraging. Also, St. James sent a box truck full of food. They had a relationship with a food pantry there, so they loaded it up and sent it off. So we were seeing very practical outreach as well.
Exactly, and it's great to see our country coming together, and especially when others are in such need.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another big piece of news that's kind of a developing story is DACA. Deferred action for childhood arrivals. So the president announced that he was going to kind of sunset that program over 2 years and beginning in 6 months, hoping that Congress, it's turning out that hoping as Congress would step in and create law. Because before, right now it's just an executive order. It's not actually the law on the books. What was your reaction when you saw that? Because obviously there's a lot of, within the Catholic Church, there's a lot of Hispanics, a lot of immigrants here, and a lot of people kind of left in this weird limbo phase when we heard that news.
It has given me the opportunity even to speak directly to some of our parishioners and those who would be impacted, their families impacted by this issue, to assure them. And I think it's really important for our diocese to hear that the bishops of our country, both directly, up front, and behind the scenes, are continually working with our elected officials to be that moral voice. I always mention that bishops are not legislators. We elect people to do that. They're the experts on how you get legislative action completed. So bishops speak to the truth of the gospel. And in this particular case, certainly calling on compassion. Obviously, bishops, support our leaders, our elected officials in one of their grave responsibilities, keeping secure our homeland. Absolutely. But at the same time, we're a nation of compassion. And as you look at the issue of the hundreds of thousands who could be impacted, who came here as children, it's the only land they know. Compassion, respect for the dignity of the person, certainly will emphasize that we need to find a way within that legislative process, which fortunately there's going to be time to accomplish, to do what is right. And we assure all of our immigrants that we are working on their behalf as bishops of the country, and that all of us are praying for the enlightenment that our officials need at this time.
And I think it's interesting to discuss this topic for a number of reasons. One is, who are we talking about? We hear numbers of 600 to 800,000.
Right.
The estimates vary on who it is, but one that the real people. And I remember you telling a story about seminarians who are basically qualified under DACA, but to begin seminary studies, they actually have to go back to Mexico in the case that you were referring to, and to begin their seminary studies there before they go through the immigration process and can
Right.
study in America. And the greatest challenge they had was their Spanish class.
Well, exactly.
They didn't even speak Spanish, many of them, or didn't speak it well enough.
Right.
That's a challenge. That kind of demonstrated for me who we're talking about.
Right. So yeah, in this particular case, came here as 2-year-old children, went through all of our schools. One, in fact, was valedictorian of his class, but in order to fulfill the necessary immigration requirements, had to leave all that was familiar for a period of time, so to re-enter, and it just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And it does seem that we are bright enough to find a comprehensive, compassionate way to address this issue.
And I think that's the point most people are looking for, at least the folks that I've talked to, is something that's just and balanced.
Right.
There's a middle ground here. We don't have to take one extreme or the other. There's got to be a reasonable standard in the middle that does uphold a standard of justice and law and order, which is reasonable, and security, obviously, which is needed now more than ever, but also of compassion that we can't do that without it.
And as we speak today, I think there's some positive signs going forward here. So there is some hope.
Yeah. Hopefully this will be done within that.
Today there were some good signs.
Within that window. We're not actually that far out from the recent events that happened in Charlottesville. We saw kind of these clashes happen and violence ring out when that happened, because that's not in our diocese, but it's not far. It's not far at all. What was your reaction when you first saw that?
Well, tremendous sadness. As much as we would hope and believe that outright and any form of racism, bigotry, prejudice would be something that is a sad part of our past, to realize that it's also present today. It caused such disappointment, sadness, and I think that we spoke out quickly, the bishops of our country, myself included, is, let's be clear, that there is no way in any shape or form that any such behavior can be considered acceptable. It's against the mandate, it's against the truth of the gospel. And but we have a sad reality that it exists. I was just with our grade school students today, and they're young, and they're saying, well, what can we do? And I said, well, we're not going to despair, because God's love and power are greater than any evil or darkness. So number one, and we're going to pray that God will transform hearts and nations, which he always does. And we're going to make sure that we give our nation, and we give where God has us situated now, the right witness and example. And we're going to make sure that here in our school or here in our community and parish, there's no division. There's nothing but respect in the way we're talking to one another. And we're going to be a people of courage. And if we see any form of that, any form, on any level, we have the courage to do what is right and say, this is unacceptable, and challenge each other to rise above that.
You also authored a column in the Arlington Catholic Herald that addressed that and kind of the practical things we can do. We can't just speak about it in generalities. We have to work toward conversion. For anyone who's got a white supremacist mentality, and who's got a racist or bigoted, sentiment to their being. That how do we address that? How do we address it? And you were very practical. We've received a lot of feedback about that, a lot of positive feedback about that.
And we trust God to transform hearts. And and I think that this issue and the sad events of Charlottesville, which God forbid will never be repeated, really made us aware of the need to pray that our nation and that the hearts of others are transformed, that we treat each other without any bias or prejudice.
So moving on to some lighter topics and some
Okay.
happier topics. There's so many signs of growth. So I've only been in this diocese for 6 weeks. I lived here, in years past and all. You're approaching your 1 year mark. We're a little far out from that, but it's around the corner. But the signs of growth in this diocese are tremendous. I mean, that has to be so inspiring for you. I mean, just if we look at the seminarians alone, there's 46 seminarians,
Right.
2 of which are transitional deacons. I mean, I know you've got such a strong background with vocations, having run a seminary, and I know in Raleigh there was a lot of success with vocations there. You have to be so obviously grateful for that legacy of building vocations from Bishop Laverty to have 46
Well, this
seminarians.
diocese, our wonderful Diocese of Arlington has been known for years and years of having this beautiful culture of promoting vocations, involving all the faithful, praying for vocations and encouraging vocations. We are so blessed in this diocese to have such that strong culture that has produced abundant fruit and continues to do so with 8 new seminarians coming in this year. And, I cannot be more proud of our seminarians. They are very high quality men, very gifted and talented, very joyful and holy, very balanced, represent our diocese very well in their seminary, and on zeal, filled with zeal for the love of the Lord and gospel and desire to serve. We had many of them in our parishes this summer, so I think a number of our parishioners were able to meet our seminarians, and I'm hearing nothing but favorable comments, how much the seminarians enjoyed their assignment and how much the people enjoyed meeting them. The growth, how blessed I was just recently to name 2 new missions.
Exactly.
In Our Lady of Lavang and St. Gabriel in Manassas Park. We are blessed as a diocese where the growth is rapid. It's a challenge in some ways to how we're going to meet this growth, but it's a challenge I would welcome, most definitely. I was just with the Diocesan Mass for young adults. I think they told me there were 400, 500 young adults.
So standing
at that
room
Mass.
only.
It was incredible, and these are young adults who are so involved in the life of the church right now, and only want to find ways to contribute, but to be supported by each other. It was key, and so we are truly, truly blessed. Our parishes are vibrant. I've not been to all of them yet, but I'm going to keep traveling. I'm going to keep traveling, and every parish I've been to, just a sense of vibrancy, life, and just so grateful to our priests who are working tirelessly to respond to the pastoral and spiritual needs of this growth that we are experiencing.
And recently, you even in May, at least, St. Bridget of Ireland went from mission to parish.
Yeah,
so
that
you
was
see
great.
You're creating missions, but also some missions are becoming parishes.
That was great.
And then PVI High School is beginning the early stages of ground clearing in Loudoun County, because
there's some signs of this is moving forward, which thank God it is.
Yeah.
Clearing ground, and we're looking forward to building a magnificent new high school.
Yeah, that growth has got to be inspiring for you. Obviously, there's a legacy that led up to this, but you're going to be the shepherd for them moving forward. Is that daunting at times, because it's a tall order?
No, it's exciting. It's exciting. And like you said, I'm a recipient of all that has gone before me, Bishop Laverty's leadership and our successors. I'm just a recipient of, in God's goodness, sending me to a diocese that is just. It's just so exciting to be in, and we have a great team around us, have great advisors, and we'll welcome the challenge to meet the growth, and we'll do our best to meet it.
Very cool. Recently, the issue of religious liberty kind of came up somewhat abruptly. It wasn't something that anyone was really expecting to come up, but during a confirmation hearing for Amy Barrett, she's a Notre Dame law professor that's going to serve on the 7th Court of Appeals. During that confirmation hearing, Senator Dianne Feinstein said, "When you read your speeches, the conclusion one draws is that the dogma lives loudly within you. And that's of concern when you come to big issues that large numbers of people have fought for years in this country." And Senator Dick Durbin asked if she was an Orthodox Catholic. It almost became like a litmus test. Like, if you're too Catholic, you might not qualify for the court. The USCCB, U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, had a very strongly worded response to that. Archbishop William Laurie said in part, "Such questions are not just contrary to our Constitution and our best national traditions. which protect the free exercise of one's faith and reject religious tests for public office. They are offensive to basic human rights. What was your reaction when you heard that?
Well, I think like so many Catholics and non-Catholics, like, where did this come from and how out of line?
Yes.
I mean, it was alarming. It was shocking. And I think Archbishop Laurie said very clearly, that this harkens back to days where, the price they had to pay for, professing a faith or whatever was just so severe. And, so it was, I have to say the good news was that colleagues of the senator and people of all faiths said, this was wrong, this sort of questioning. But let's not be naive. Let's be vigilant. Don't be surprised in this day and age if your faith is going to be called into question and you'll be asked, you're going to dare to bring your faith into the public arena, and we're going to say yes, and it's going to live loudly in the public arena, because that's what it means to follow Christ. And I'm so grateful for so many courageous witnesses willing to do so. But this attack this concern about protecting our religious freedom, it's for real, and this is an example of it.
It's easy to, we've gone through such a long period of time, at least in modern American history, where it hasn't been under like direct attack. We've seen instances where there's been definite issues, the HHS mandate being an example of that, but we shouldn't be too comfortable.
That's right.
with the way things have been, because it doesn't have to stay that way.
Like this came out of the blue.
Exactly.
This sort of questioning. Yeah.
Exactly. And then, recently also Steve Bannon, a former White House advisor, said on CBS's 60 Minutes, because the church is unable to really come to grips with the problems in the church, they need illegal aliens. They need illegal aliens to fill the churches. It was not only confusing and backwards, but it was not clear as to exactly what the church would have some great benefit from, as if there's some like underhanded intent here to welcome immigrants and non-immigrants alike. It was unclear what he was saying the advantage was, but it was clear it was somewhat bigoted.
Right, and he was specifically mentioned the Catholic Church.
But that was the only reference to that. Yeah.
And extremely, profoundly disrespectful, not only to the church, but to the people that we are trying our best to serve, which we have done forever as a church. And those comments were very, very disturbing, disrespectful, unacceptable, and I think a great injustice to the people who are the recipients of our Catholic Church, reaching out to them in love, trying to embrace them, trying to support them as they make their faith journey here in this nation. And we celebrate, and we mention all the time, the great gift that our immigrants are to the church, to the nation, their love for the Lord, their family values, they're a gift to us, and we are privileged and pleased to serve them, and we do so for the right reasons, because we're one family, God's family. We're brothers and sisters in Christ. The gospel calls us to do so. So to be any other motive to be attached to that is completely unacceptable.
Yeah, it's because we welcome, most illegal immigrants, people who were not able to come here legally, they didn't come by random decision. They came here because they're fleeing violence, they're fleeing oppression. Some of them oftentimes are qualifying as refugee status. Right. So we welcome them to serve them, to help them.
Right.
It didn't make sense, which a lot of people kind of pointed that out, a lot of columnists especially, but what a gift they are to the church.
Yeah.
What a gift they've been to the church for years, many, many years now, as Central and South America have kind of been in constant turmoil.
Yeah.
What a blessing they've been, and how happy the church is to serve them.
Yeah, but definitely irrational.
Yeah.
And actually mean-spirited too.
Very much, very much. So you've got a couple of events coming up. October 14th, you have the Diocesan Pilgrimage. Talk a little bit about what that is and why you're encouraging people to come.
Wonderful tradition we have in our diocese of conducting a diocesan pilgrimage to the Basilica Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, the patroness of our diocese, patroness of our nation. And we go as a diocesan family. And we are united from all the parishes throughout the diocese, all our rich diversity, brothers and sisters in Christ. It's going to be a great day. There's all kinds of information in the parish bulletins and on our website, a day of activity. We have some activities for students, seek and find some of the treasures of the Basilica Shrine. There will be opportunity, to, of course, to pray the Rosary, Sacrament of Reconciliation, Holy Mass, and then after Mass, a Eucharistic procession to the St. John Paul II Shrine,
right,
where we will play the Divine Mercy. So a day in which we can be united as God's family in prayer, praying for our own special intentions personally, but also the intentions of our diocese.
One of the, I thought, the amazing things about the way this is structured, it's structured so that families, if they can only come for a part of the day,
right,
they're still going to get a fulfilled, robust experience.
Exactly.
I know just from having little ones myself, nap times can get in the way and all these things. That's okay. You can come for 2 hours.
Your children's nap time, not yours, right? Okay,
I need the nap by the time it's over, I
sure.
promise. But there's opportunities where if you just came for a small chunk, that's okay.
Right.
You're still going
Exactly.
to feel, you didn't feel like you were ripped out early. There's the way it's
right.
divided is you can participate all day or just for a piece, and you're going to feel very gratified coming
and I
away
welcome and really encourage the faith of our diocese to be part of this great celebration.
Very good. And after that, on November 19th, we're celebrating the World Day of the Poor. Now, to call it a day is kind of misleading because we're actually doing like a week's worth of activities that are still being solidified, and we'll be publicizing a lot of that soon. But I know this has been a big priority of yours to make the faithful aware, at the very least, of all that the Church does, whether through the diocese, Catholic charities, or the parishes and schools, what's being done on behalf of the poor and for the poor.
Yeah, and that's the Holy Father's intention when he names it the World Day for the Poor in November. He's highlighting what is being done through the acts of mercy in our church every day. Mm-hmm. And certainly, I'm very proud to say in this diocese, so extremely well. Through our Catholic charities, through our parishes, through individuals, constant outreach to those who need us the most. But the Holy Father is giving us this day as an emphasis. Let's continue this work. Let's be very mindful of that. And so we will have our own webpage, site on what we'll be doing to celebrate the World Day of the Poor. But he summarized it beautifully in his message. There's just that constant reminder. Let us, our love for one another, and concern for another, not be restricted to our words, but through our deeds.
Absolutely. So anyone that wants to learn more about that, they can go to arlingtondiocese.org. We've got a lot of information about the pilgrimage. The World Day of the Poor, a lot of that's forthcoming. It's in November 19th, so we have a little bit of time. But then anyone that wants to participate in the donations for Hurricanes Irma and Harvey through Catholic Charities USA, you can also go to arlingtondiocese.org, and there's information there. And 100% of the funds go directly to Catholic Charities and directly to those who are in need. Bishop, before we leave, is there anything else that you wanted to share with people?
No, just again, as you said, I'll be nearing a year as the Bishop of Arlington. In fact, October 5th would be the year of the announcement. And I just am thrilled, honored, privileged to be serving as the bishop of this diocese. I'm so grateful to the welcome, to the support that have been extended to me, and encouragement and prayers I receive every day. And just assure all of our faithful throughout the diocese that I will continue to do my best to serve.
Very good. Thank you so much, Bishop.
Thank you, Billy.
To learn more about the Bishop and his ministry, as well as the Diocese of Arlington and all that's happening here, please go to arlingtondiocese.org. Thank you.